Here in Southern California, I have the privilege of working on a number of garage doors for families of all walks of life. But there's one garage door that I keep on encountering that simply terrifies me. Let's party. So I'm here in the Chino Hills community, and this is the exact neighborhood where this specific garage door that I encounter from time to time, I have to deal with. And keeping in perspective that I've actually dealt with these doors on a number of occasions. These happen to be 16 by 8 foot tall custom wood doors. And they're not necessarily the doors on these homes right here, they're just further down. But what I wanted to put in perspective is that they're not like your standard normal residential doors. These custom wood doors are extremely heavy, at least over 600 pounds. And being able to balance these doors is a challenge. That is, if you're putting springs on them, you know right off the bat, they're not going to be normal springs. They won't be a 1 3/4 inch diameter. They won't be a 2-inch diameter. In fact, you're going to be looking at a 2 5/8 inch diameter spring. So right off the bat, you know that you're going to have to get custom made springs for these doors. But because these doors are extremely heavy, well, how do you balance these doors? How do you know the exact weight? And that's what I had to encounter with this one specific customer, that with his specific garage door, it was a challenge to try and figure out what exactly we needed to do. And that's the story that I want to share with you. But in order to share that story with you, I got to share another story first. Okay, so pull up a seat, story time. Back in the day, I was a much younger man, obviously. I did a job for a customer out over in San Diego. I was actually working for a contractor. I was a subcontractor for him at the time. And there was a particular door that I encountered for the very first time. I'd never seen a custom wood door like this. I liken this door to basically the Godzilla of garage doors. I was completely intimidated. Try to kind of imagine that this door, again, it's not like your normal garage doors. These are doors that you would probably find in more custom homes. So when I showed up to the property, I immediately saw that one of the 4 springs were broken. And this particular spring was kind of like one of those normal springs that you find. I think it was almost like a 243 wire. I believe it was like a 250. At any rate, the spring configuration on this specific door was mismatched. So, thinking that all I really needed to do was to come back with a matching spring, I was going to be able to knock out this door easily. Oh, how wrong I was. So I came back with a matching spring, which happened to be like a 250 wire by 1 3/4 by 33. And I thought, well, this is going to be perfectly fine because we're going to match the other 3 springs that were not broken, and we're going to utilize the same cables. Well, as I start to get into the job, as I start to wind everything, I feel like this tremendous tension from the door itself. And mind you, I've wound thousands of springs and gratefully have not lost my fingers. I haven't lost an eye. So I'm being very cautious with this particular door. At the end, when I wounded everything together and I had everything on the torsion spring system or the torsion bar, I start to lift this door up. And sure enough, I get it to about 1 feet and it slams to the ground. And I'm pretty much freaking out. Now I know what you're thinking, why did I touch this garage door without the right training, without the right knowledge, and without the right parts for it? And to be honest with you, the answer is, it's because I wanted to master my craft. That is, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, and I wanted to be able to understand the principles behind what makes a door like a 16-foot wide by 8-foot tall wood custom door work and how to properly balance it. Clearly, I was out of my league, but that did not mean that I didn't want to try. It didn't mean that I didn't want to tackle it. And yet, after that door fell, trust me, I was scared out of my wits. And as I relive it, as I think about it, as I remember that experience, it keeps me up at night. I really get chills about it. I'm scared of it. And I know that being scared of it is not what I want to do. I know that I should respect it. I know that I should be mindful of it, but I still can't help feel that way just because every time I encounter this door, again, I'm just not sure what I'm gonna get. Fast forward to today, and I am much more confident working on these doors. Now that being said, repairing these types of doors is still no picnic. They need to be properly balanced, because if they're not balanced properly, they're just gonna work a number on the garage door motor, and that could create problems like with the gear and sprocket, with the belt, with a number of issues. So again, as I tackle these doors more often, I do get a sense of their ins and outs, and yet still, I feel a little weary, I feel a little cautious towards them. But it wasn't until I found this particular door most recently where I knew I had messed up. So how did I mess up? Well, real simple. I show up to the property and I find mismatched springs. There are 4 springs in total, but as I look at how the door is configured, I realize that it's that 16 by 8-foot tall wood custom door weighs over 500 pounds. And I think, well, if these were the springs that were originally on, I'm pretty much sure good to go to be able to configure with a thicker wire gauge, a thicker diameter, and be able to put them on. So I ended up doing that, and the door didn't have the best of balance. Naturally, most guys would try to balance out the door with the springs that they currently have, and I was no different. I tried to balance this door to the best of my ability, thinking that what I came with was the right thing. But when I left that job, I was just not sure of myself. I think the authorities are coming for me. Gratefully, it didn't have to come to that. The spring police did not come knocking on my door, but the customer did end up calling me back, and he ended up telling me that his door was just not operating properly. So I had to go back to the drawing board. I had to understand the door much better than what I went off of, that is for face value. So in order to do that, I had to weigh the door. With the help of a trusted colleague, what we ended up doing was simply weighing one door section. And by weighing that single door section, getting somewhat of an approximation, a calculation of what the entire door weight would be. To our success, we were able to get close to a 650 weight rating. So again, we're mastering our craft. We are understanding the door much better. We're making the effort to calculate its weight, to calculate the track radius, to calculate the drum size, and to be able to take that information so we can give it to our tech team so they could give us an approximation on what springs to put on. And to my surprise, they suggested 4 262 wire by 2 5/8 by 31 inches long. I didn't think it was gonna work. So you're probably thinking, this guy's ridiculous. He doesn't know if these springs are gonna work, yet he's going to order them from the manufacturer, put it on this particular garage door, which potentially could open up another can of worms. And to that I say, oh ye of little faith, because after weighing the door, I felt much more confident being able to tackle it, specifically because after referring to our tech support and the team that was making the springs for us, they were convinced that that specific spring wire with the diameter and length was going to do the job. On the day of the job, I inspect the door. I want to be able to make sure I cover all of my bases before putting on these new springs. Sure enough, I come to find that the cables are fraying, and there's no way I'm going to put these bad cables on this door system with these 4 new springs. So naturally, we're going to have to take off those cables. And it's not easy on these custom doors because they have bottom end plates that go under or cover under the door. So what we ended up doing was basically put a 2x4 so that there was a few inches from the ground of the door, and we started to release tension so we could take those bottom plates off. Gratefully, that did the trick. After replacing those cables, we took off the old springs and we applied the new springs. And once we applied tension to the springs, well, the door, it balanced out perfectly. After my colleague and I knew that these springs could properly balance this garage door, we were high-fiving each other, we were jumping, we were dancing, we were singing. We were so excited because we were able to master our craft. We were able to tackle a situation with confidence, realizing that the efforts that were made prior to getting the job done were not in vain. And so that's kind of where the moral or the point of this entire story is, that being terrified of a garage door is okay. It's all right. It happens. It's good to be afraid sometimes. It's good to go into a situation with a little apprehension, perhaps not being sure of oneself, and yet being able to face it and tackle it in a way that with that confidence, you know that if you're looking to do the right thing for someone or for a family, or just for the simple safety aspect of a specific situation, there's no greater purpose, or I should say that's one way to find great purpose in doing what you do. And at the end of the day, I was a little less terrified. Now, like I've said time and time and again, the pro tips, techniques, and ideas in my videos should not be taken as law or infallible. Why? Well, because I am nobody. That's why it's important for you to understand your garage door needs and your garage door circumstances. And if you are a homeowner that has this particular type door, please reach out to someone that's going to be able to provide you some guidance, be able to understand how to weigh the garage door, to be able to find the right parts for the garage door, and to be able to take care of the overall health of this type of garage door. I think ultimately when contractors, technicians, dealers, distributors work with homeowners, we're all trying to fight and defeat the same beast. And that beast is basically the gargantuan job or the challenge of fixing these types of garage doors. So I hope this video has inspired you in one way or another. In fact, let's keep this party going. I'm gonna recommend this video right here on some of the common mistakes that you want to avoid when buying torsion springs. As always, I wanna thank you all for partying with me. Y'all stay safe.